Welcome to Field Phone Ops. In this episode, we're going to discuss the SB-993 GT manual switchboard, and we're going to discuss how to make your own switchboard. This is the SB-993 GT. This was developed in the late 50s as a very small unit switchboard that was small and lightweight, could easily be carried, probably weighed about 2 pounds. And size-wise, it's hard to judge by looking at it, but it's probably about 1 foot long by 4 inches wide by maybe 1.5 inches deep. And it basically consisted of a carry case with a canvas carry case. And then you pull it out of the canvas case, and you had this aluminum case that looks like this. You open it up on the left, and it held 7 of these, what they call connector adapters. And basically what these were these little plugs, as you can see, that have neon glow lamps inside them. And they would connect to the field wires, and you'd run your field wire to each one of your different phones you had out in the field or in your position. And when the person would crank or call you on the phone, the glow lamp would glow, and you could see who was calling. Now, this was a good system. Basically, it was capable of doing 6 telephones. The 7th spot is called the telephone or operator spot, and that's where the person who was running the switchboard would hook up another field phone, and that's what they would talk to people on. So basically, you would get a call in. The operator would then plug into it. You can see how they stack. The small holes in the bottom of the case on the picture on the left is where each of the connector adapters fit, and it would stand up, and you could see it. Some of them had actually white paint on them. You could write with a pencil who they were. The case has numbers on it, 1 through 6, and telephone, which will help you remember who's who. Basically, calls were made and serviced by plugging the modules together. They would stack and plug and lock together. And it was possible to do 1, 2, 3, all the way to 6. It was also capable to trunk or link these together, so you could link 2 of these together, so you could call back and forth between the 5 lines on one end and the 5 lines on another. It was possible to also connect this to a SB-22, so you could go the next level, next echelon up for talking and stuff. They were pretty basic. The actual connector module has got a little resistor in it and a glow lamp. And the reason they use neon glow lamps is because there's no filament inside there. So basically, when you hook these up to a phone, you're shorting across the 2 wires. Well, with the neon glow lamps, there's no filament, so there's actually no short circuit. The only time there's any kind of short or circuit across them is when somebody cranks the phone and you can see it light. Like I said, this was something where if you weren't looking directly at it, when somebody called you, you might miss a call. There was no buzzer, beeper, or ringer or anything on it, so you had to pay attention to it. And also, it had a tendency, they gave off quite a bit of light. We'll demonstrate here in a little bit. So it's you definitely would not want to have it out in the open, but have it down in a fighting position, a foxhole, or maybe in a vehicle or a tent, because when someone cranks on it, it gets pretty bright. Like I said, calls are made by stacking. You get a call coming in on a call connector adapter, and you'd see it light. You would then pull your telephone or operator plug out, and it would lock into the 2 holes in the top. You would then ring him back, and you could talk back and forth. Or you could make a call to somebody. Or if you wanted to, you could stack lines on top of each other to switch them together. Similar to what happens in an SB-22, but it doesn't have actual patch cord plugs. It's got these little stacking adapters. Okay, next we're going to get out and I'm going to demonstrate how they work. I have a homemade one I made. I've been trying to buy one of these for several years, and I either keep getting sniped or the people want ungodly amounts of money for it, and I'm not going to pay for that. I eventually went online and found a source where I could buy 8 of the modules for, I think it was roughly $40. And then I used my base, I just used a piece of high-density polyethylene, HDPE, also called starboard, which is a high-density plastic that I drilled holes in and labeled, and it works really good. We're going to get it out, and I'm going to demonstrate it to you, and we'll make some phone calls and show you how it works. And this is the heart of the SB-993, and this is a, they call it a phone connector device. It's pretty simple. Basically a molded plastic case right here, and inside it there's a glow lamp. You can't see it very well, but you'll see it when it lights up. It's got two plugs on the top, and it allows two of them to be stacked together like that. These function as plugs and as screw tighteners. Basically, you can screw this down like I'm doing right now. You insert your field wire inside there, and you screw it in tight, and you're ready to go. And like I said, they're capable of being stacked on top of each other, like that, or maybe however many you want them to do, but that's basically how they work. And what I ended up doing is I ended up getting a piece of this. This is, slide these out of the way. This is a HDPE, high-density polyethylene, also known as King Starboard by its manufacturer name, and I basically drilled some holes in it for each one of the pieces to fit in. So they basically fit like this to operate the system. They'll all have a piece, they'll fit in here like this. The holes are an odd size, so I actually drilled a 1/4-inch hole and hit them with a countersink bit to wall them out a little bit. And I still had to do some wallowing around them to get them to fit, but this is basically how they go together, and that's how it holds them to work. And basically when you receive a call, you take your operator jack right here, and you bring it up, and you into the phone call you're calling, or whoever's calling you, and you talk, and you're done. When you're done talking, you don't want to talk to them anymore, you go back to like that. That's it. Pretty basic, pretty simple. This works good. I thought about using a piece of wood, but then I thought about splintering and stuff like that, and I said, well, I can get a piece of this for a little bit more, and it's just pretty much indestructible. Okay, so what we'll do now is I'll go ahead and I'll shut down quick, and we'll go ahead and we'll wire some phones up, and we'll actually use this to show you how it works and make some calls. Okay, I've got my phones wired in now, and basically how it's set up is this one is wired to a TA312, which will be my operator. This one is wired to nothing. This one is wired to a TA312, which will function as a subscriber. This one's not wired to anything. This is wired to a TA1 that will be another subscriber. This one is wired to a second TA1, which will be a subscriber, and this one is wired to a TA312 as a subscriber. I'll go ahead, and the first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll ring each one. Hopefully you can see the neon glow lamps glow. They're a little bit dim. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. Okay, the first one I'll do is the operator. I don't know how well you can see that. Next, I'll do the first 312. Next, I'll do the TA1 and the other TA1, and finally the last 312. Hopefully that was bright enough to see. Now, how this would work in the real world, if you had this deployed into the field and we're using it, let's say one of the TA1s called in and said, you would answer it, and go ahead and say, hey, what do you need? And the guy would say, well, I need to talk to so-and-so. Well, you go ahead and say, okay, stand by. And you go ahead and pick it up, plug it into so-and-so, or if you wanted to, you could leave it like this and plug it into the guy you want to talk to and call him. Hear it ringing, both lights are ringing. The guy answers and says, hey, what do you need? Well, I want to just got so-and-so on the line to talk to you. Stand by. You go ahead and unplug the operator, plug it back in, and then plug these two together, and these two parties are now talking to each other. Okay. Now it can be, if you wanted to do 2, 3, 4, whatever, stacked on top, which will make party lines. That's easy to do. When they're done with the phone call, one of them will do a ring off. It's really weak, but it's there to let you know, hey, they're done talking, and you would put it down like that. And that's basically how it functions. Like I said, it's possible to connect maybe 2 or 3 of these together to cover a wider area, or it's even possible to connect one of these to a SB-22 and just to continue branching your switchboards out with operators. But this is basically how it works. They should work. I haven't tested with all of them. I've checked them with several of my NATO and Russian or Eastern Bloc field phones, and they work. So it's probably something that would be, interoperable across all those phones if you wanted to do that. I'm going to shut down and demonstrate one more thing that a lot of people use these for. Okay, and here's the last thing you can do. I've heard of this being done. You can actually take it and wire it in line like this with the incoming field wire to your 312 or your phone. You can tuck it in there. Make sure you put some electrical tape. I have rubber caps that came with mine on this because there's basically voltage on there when it rings, and you can tuck it into your field phone like that, and it allows you to operate the field phone without having to have the ringer turned on. So you can see that it rings. You can hear it clacking a little bit. That's just another option you have if you want to run the phone in like a quiet mode situation where you don't want anybody to hear that you're getting an incoming call. And that's it. I hope you learned something. This was the SB-993 and the U-184 GT connecting module.